Hello, my friends. Welcome to PMP Exam Level 5. Today we're taking a look at another batch of questions. Let's jump into the very first question from the initiating area. You are the project coordinator working along the PMO on the business document most commonly used to formalize project authorization. You are establishing internal agreements with an organization to ensure proper delivery under the contract. What project elements should you derive from this process? Let's take a look at the answer. I will show the answer now. If you need more time, hit the pause button to avoid any spoilers. The answer to this, my friends, is exit criteria and milestones. The document most commonly used to formalize project authorization is the project charter, and the actual elements in question here are the exit criteria and milestones, which are in the charter. Let's move on to our next section here. You are the project manager on a high visibility project involving several subcontractors. You observe that team members are accepting a significant number of requested changes to the service specs with little attention to the contract delivery method and payment terms. When questioned, the team members reply that the changes are relatively minor costs. Which plans or documents should you review with the team? I will be showing the answer, so hit the pause button if you need more time. This talks about little attention to the contract delivery method or payment terms. Well, these are two items that live in one place. They don't live in the scope management plan. They do not live in the procurement management plan, and they do not live in the change management plan. The best answer to this is B, procurement strategy. Team members should pay more attention to the procurement strategy, which contains these items. Let's move on to the next question. During the execution phase of a software development project, several stakeholders from different departments join the team. What should the project manager update first? All right, let's take a look at the answer. So when they join the team, they are not affecting the schedule and they're not affecting scope. So we can get rid of those right away. Besides, this says scope management plan. We're not going back to plan scope. Take a look at the risk register. There's absolutely no reason for you to update that because we do not know that these stakeholders are a risk. Instead, we need to think about how to communicate with these individuals. So the best answer is B. The communications management plan establishes communication guidelines for these new stakeholders. Let's take a look at another question. You were selected as the project manager on a food service industry project. You suddenly learn that a new COVID-19 law and regulation, which will affect all food industry businesses and how employees work, is expected to be passed within the next 7 months. Your project is to launch a new product expected to be complete within 6 months. This new product would not meet the requirements of the proposed legislation if it passes. What should you do? I'll give you an opportunity to read the answers and choose a solution. All right, let's move on to the answer. So, Using the process of elimination, let's examine some of the options. 1. Meet with key stakeholders to identify the risks. Update assumption log and project charter. Let's take a look at the second one. Crash or fast track the project to overcome this schedule risk, but document it in the meeting log. You don't document risks in a meeting log. So let's get rid of that. And just blindly crashing or fast tracking is not the solution. Let's take a look at what the problem is one more time. So you suddenly learn that a new COVID-19 law and regulation, which will affect all food industry businesses and how employees work, is expected to be passed in the next 7 months. So this thing's going to come up in the next 7 months. Your project is expected to be complete within 6 months. So there's a 1 month difference. But that doesn't make any difference. It says this new product would not meet the requirements of the proposed legislation. So it would survive for a month without being in trouble, but after a month, it then is in trouble because of the law. See? So crashing or fast tracking doesn't help. Let's look at C. Through close project or phase, cancel the project. It says, what should you do? You cannot cancel the project because you don't have the power to do that. It's something the sponsor has to do, so we'll get rid of that. Let's take a look at option D. Carry out a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and then document the change issues in the risk register. Well, you don't document issues in a risk register. It then says, and accept this as a possible threat. No, it's not going to be a threat. This is actually going to hit, and it's going to become an issue, right? Even if you see it as, oh, it's something that could happen, when it does, it's really going to be bad. So change issues are not documented in a risk register. It's saying they're issues, but asking you to document them in the risk register and accept as a possible threat. But really, this is supposed to be looked at as an issue, not a risk. It says, which will affect. It will. So it's not a risk. We know this to be an issue. So let's just get rid of that. The language one is wrong and the logic is wrong. That leaves us with A, meet with key stakeholders to identify the risks. Now, even though it says it will affect all food industry businesses, there are going to be associated risks that can affect as a result of the regulation. So we have an issue, but we could also have associated risks, associated unknowns as a result of that regulation. So it's not entirely wrong to say we could identify additional risks. So identify the risks, update the assumption log, and project charter. So even though this is, you could say, almost reaching, but it's the most correct of them all, and therefore the answer is A. This new law can have profound effect on the project. It will certainly lead to new potential risks, new assumptions, and a possible charter change. That one's a tricky one. That's why I gave you more time to read it. Let's take a look at the next one. During the final stages of a project, an issue with equipment provided by a subcontractor is identified. After conducting an impact analysis, what document should the project manager consult to determine how to address this issue? All right. Hit the pause button if you need more time. So using the process of elimination, it wouldn't be the communications management plan. That doesn't tell you how to address issues. It wouldn't be the procurement process manual. That just tells you a process for following procurement. So it actually wouldn't be that. The next one says vendor contract. What are you trying to find? How to address an issue. It wouldn't be in a vendor contract, you see, because it says after conducting an impact analysis, what document should the project manager consult to determine how to address this issue? It's an issue. Vendor contract doesn't tell you how to address an issue. It could say as a result of a misunderstanding or liability or warranty work, but you're seeing an issue with equipment, right? How to address the issue is going to be in this. the change management plan because change needs to happen. That is the best answer. If the impact analysis supports a change to the project, then the change management plan should be consulted. Let's move on to another question here. Another fairly straightforward question. You are in the process of assessing opportunities to deliver value the best way possible. This value would typically be delivered as part of what? Very straightforward, this one. This is just a break. All right, let's take a look at the answer. So, value is not delivered as part of a user story because a user story is role, goal, benefit. So the value is not delivered as a user story. It's delivered as part of not a storyboard. And that doesn't even make sense. It's a sprint. Very straightforward. Value is delivered as part of a sprint. Let's move on to another question. You are the project manager on a mid-size engineering project. The needs assessment has just been completed. Which of the following should you do next? Okay. 3, 2, and 1. So the best answer, my friends, is not a statement of work, and it's not a BMP, and it's actually not the project charter. The business case follows the needs assessment. The needs assessment is followed by the business case, then the benefits management plan, and then the charter. Let's take a look at another one. You are the project manager on a small project. A team member informs you that there is a variance between actual and planned system speed. You are surprised because this performance measurement was not identified during the planning phase of the project. The project manager then evaluates whether the variance requires a response. During the evaluation, in which phase is the project manager? All right, this one is a freebie, another simple one. The best answer would not be planning because we're talking about variances. It wouldn't be closing, that would be late in the day. And it actually wouldn't be executing because that's not where we measure actual versus planned. The best answer is A, the monitoring and controlling phase, right? The monitoring and controlling aspect. This is where you are comparing the planned results with the actual results. And bear in mind, even though process groups are not phases, you can have generic technical phases where this is referred to as a phase. So the best answer is A. Next question. On your 4-year large-size government project, the team has completed all planning efforts and obtained approval. What should the project manager do next? All right. Let's take a look at the answer. So you got to observe this is a large size project. Small projects, we could do a kickoff just when we get done with initiating. But on these large ones, what does a PMI tell you? Hold the kickoff meeting as part of the executing process group. Planning has happened, and we've gotten our bearings. PMBOK guide, in large projects, a project management team normally does majority of the planning, and the remainder of the project team is brought on when the initial planning is complete, at the start of the development or implementation. In this instance, the kickoff meeting takes place with processes in the executing process group. Here's your next question. Without considering all the implementations, your project sponsor requires that the project team be composed of resources located in 3 locations in 3 different time zones. This is expected to save costs and provide the optimal project team. Where should this be reflected in the project charter? All right, so you got to know your components of the project charter. So what would the best option be? Okay. So, think about it. 3 locations, 3 time zones. This is not part of the project charter. There's no resource management clause in the project charter. Okay? Even though there is a key stakeholder list, but we don't look at these team members as key stakeholders we would document in the charter, so we'll get rid of that. So that leaves us with A and C. Think about what requirements are. Project work to be done, features, functions, and aspects of the product. This right here, as far as the resources, is not considered as a requirement. The best answer is A. Having a dispersed project team does not come without risks. These risks need to be identified in the risk log for the project. But as far as the project charter, we have a place where we log high-level risks and high-level assumptions. So the high-level risks and the high-level scope and all that high-level information is in the charter. That is just the beginning. It is at the end of the day going to be fleshed out in other respective documents. So, the best place is the overall project risks that are documented in the charter. I know many of you will struggle with that. This is a question from the PMI. It's better to learn from it and understand when you've got a geographically dispersed team, you have risks. Moving on to the next one. You were appointed as a project manager in the charter on a new medium-sized project, and you have just completed the revised benefits management plan on behalf of the program manager. The plan is being reviewed. While initiating the project, what should the project manager do next? All right. Hit the pause button if you need more time. The best answer to this question, my friends, because you are initiating, is not the reports. That's monitoring and controlling, and it's not the charter that's already been done, and it's not a project management plan because you're initiating. So the best answer is create a stakeholder register. This is the best option. Let's move on to our final question. Final question. You are the project manager on a large project for a government client. You receive the preliminary scope, assumptions, and restrictions for a new project. What should you do first? Give you some time to think about it. All right, let's use the process of elimination to get rid of a few of these. First of all, you wouldn't jump ahead and begin working on the schedule. There are things that need to happen before that. B says build a project team and assign project tasks. While that's not a bad thing to do, you wouldn't just go ahead and assign tasks without building a schedule. So it wouldn't be that. So if we wouldn't go ahead and build a schedule first, then of course we're not going to go ahead and do option B first. Then we've got C and D. So it says what you have is the preliminary scope. You've got assumptions and restrictions. From this, you can tell you likely don't have the charter. But what you want to do as a project manager coming in is first of all understand what the project is about. And when you've got an understanding of that, you can either run with it if there's a charter, but if there's not, you can then go ahead and obtain the charter approval. So the best answer that PMI provides is C. The business case and project goals need to be understood before a charter can be written. So the way you should look at this is which of these comes first? And in terms of which one comes first, it's going to be that, followed by that, followed by a little bit of this, build a project team, and then you construct a schedule, and then you assign the tasks. That would be the best order. But for now, the answer provided is C. Again, another one I know you'd say is controversial because I hear that all the time, but this is from PMI. So just learn following the order of sensibilities. I hope you found this to be helpful, my friends. That's PMP Level 5 for you. Remember, we're going all the way to 7, so we got a few more episodes to go. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.